Alrighty, thanks for joining us for this case study of our work together, FZK. Can you start off, just share your name, where you live, and what you do?
I'm Francisca, but commonly known as FZK, which are all the letters no one can spell in my name. And I'm based in Santa Fe, New Mexico, but from you pick all around the world.
Okay, great. And so, what was going on in your life before you started working together, coaching together? What was going on, and what kind of like issues were you having that made you start to be like, oh, maybe we could do some coaching with this?
Coaching. Yeah, it was, I ended up in, I guess, not an atypical situation, but all the life changes that you expect at midlife all happened in 1 year. Where the aging mom had to be moved into a home, the son left home, so we got an empty nest. The dog had to be put down and was old, and um, work changes, relationship changes, so it all conglomerated in 1 year, and I knew that I needed support to, yeah, stay true to myself and just get through all those changes with focus and alignment to who I wanted to become on the other end of all of that.
Awesome. And was there like a particular moment, like a particular like low point moment where you're just like, this is working, something going?
Did I say that again? Your audio is a little
Oh, sorry. Was there a particular moment, like a low point moment, like it's like, yo, this isn't working, something's got to change point that you can remember?
yeah, it became hard to be at home because my house was now empty and I traveled as much as I could during that year, but there's a limit to how much you can avoid being at home over the long term. So it yeah, it just became difficult kind of being home alone.
Gotcha. Difficult being home alone. Like, yeah, what do you mean? What were you like feeling, or what was going on when you're home alone?
Just to face all the change all at once, that my house was not empty when a year prior it was full of people and a dog, and life was a completely different scenario.
Got it. And yeah, and so when you realize like, okay, you've got all this change going on and you want some help navigating it and getting through it in the way that you want, um, what was it before our coaching together? Was there anything else that you like tried in terms of getting help in that area, or was it straight to coaching and the work we did?
um I've always believed in coaching. Like I love saving time by having someone else walk you through things with their expertise. um so I guess I'm open to coaching always, but yeah, and I think I focus more on business coaching itself, like growing my company. And that was certainly an aspect, like I needed to be able to show up as the boss of my agency and owner throughout my personal change. I couldn't kind of drop the ball on that. So I was, somewhat looking for business support in that area, but it was really more for the first time about supporting me, like emotionally, spiritually, on kind of all the levels that feature into being a good leader of my business.
And did you go anywhere else for that emotional, spiritual support first, or was this the first stop?
Oh, you were my first stop.
Hey, yeah. So what made you come to me and decide to work with me on this?
Um, Actually, I don't remember. How did we? I mean, I know we met on the calls in this mastermind that we're in together, but did we meet in person too? I mean, we had met in person already, I
Yeah,
think.
we had met in Austin.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it's part of like great vibe as a person, feeling like I can trust you, feeling like you understand sort of the context within which I'm trying to run my life and my business. Like we have shared values, I'd say. Um, yeah, I think that was the main things, and it was the other people said great things about you. So,
Cool. That's it's funny. I don't remember the how that gap. got bridged either. Of like, yeah, we know each other in this context, and then we started to working together, and it's like, wait, what did happen in between
I
that?
don't remember. I don't know, it was something like some other shitty thing happened in my life, and I was like, oh my God, now I need help, or I don't know, I can't remember.
Enough of that.
Probably a good thing. So
Yeah, cool. And great. Okay, so yeah, we started working together to get help navigating some of the stuff. And what were some of the, let's just go straight to it. Like, what were some of the biggest like wins or changes that you saw?
So I think one thing that we talked about a lot was that with my mom aging and becoming dement, I had to do so much admin for her. And she's in Germany, and German admin is like on a completely other level of admin that only Germans will understand. But that took a lot of kind of like, I think my frustration just grew where I was in a phase of my life where I'd gotten all this freedom. On the one hand, there was a lot of loss, but it's also a lot of freedom and a whole new blank canvas that I can now create on. But it was filled with things I really didn't want to do at all. And that was difficult, I think, for me to navigate. And you helped me a lot, sort of coming through, acceptance of that situation and how to change my mindset about approaching it, different solutions, whether it's a timing or a scheduling solution or a mindset solution, or you kind of walk through all different ways of getting there with me till I finally got there.
Cool. And what difference did that make? Like, what impact did that have on you on like time or your stress levels or whatever else?
Yeah, it was just being able to spend my days more in alignment with myself and who I want to be. And of course, I want to take care of my mom, but it was a big step to kind of get to that point where I actually felt that way when I was doing it.
Hmm. Okay, cool. Yeah, and we can get to some of the other results in a moment. I also just wanted to go back a little bit. When we first started, was the work, was this kind of coaching about what you expected, or was it different from what you thought it would be?
Um, I don't think I really knew what to expect, but I really appreciated your honesty and presence, and just if I needed to just cry sometimes, that was fine. Um, and just kind of giving me the space to work through stuff with your guidance. So that was a wonderful experience, which, wasn't, you didn't have a technique that you pushed me into, so to speak, or a framework that, or a goal. I mean, I'm sure you had goals for my progress in mind, but I didn't feel them, and I didn't feel pressured to like arrive at them at a particular point or to use a specific technique or tool that you were offering to get there. So it was a very yeah, just a trusted, like I guess it also felt like you trusted in my wisdom and that you just needed to get it out of me, which
That's
you
exactly it. Yep,
which you
there was like maybe three overarching goals that were always in the background and always like on my end, kind of like my like North Star for where we were going. And sometimes to get there, you got to go in like different directions. So it's, that's not always like the super structured step by step thing. So that was, yeah, creating that space to allow us to like, oh, let's go do this other thing that seems to not be related to freeing up time, but actually then we go do that and it does.
yeah, yeah,
So
that was
yeah.
definitely there. And you were excellent at picking up, like you didn't let me get away with like a little side comment where I thought, I don't know if that's important or not. And you'd be like, yeah, let's slip.
Like what? Does anything come to mind?
Um, like I remember me telling you that I was angry about something, and you said, and do you think there's something wrong with being angry about that? And I was like, oh. And then we started a whole conversation about anger and
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's not just the anger, it's like there's a judgment around it. And yeah, it's like so then it's like this little thing that can just cause a little issue. Like we can hold on to it and make it get into bigger things, just by like how we're viewing on things and all of that. Cool. So do you remember like, cause it was a while ago, it was like maybe a little less than a year when we started. Um, do you remember like the specific goals and things you wanted to like achieve, work on? I do. I just want to know if you
yeah, no, I don't. I feel like a totally different person now. So.
do. Tell me more. How are you a totally different person? Um, in or actually, first of all, you feel like a totally different person. Uh, were there ways that the coach like is that due to other stuff that happened in your life, or is that due in part to the coaching as well?
No, definitely in part to you just kind of being there and helping me, giving me the space to really process what was going on. It was just a lot in a short period of time. And again, while it's not unexpected life circumstances, you still have to process them. Like everybody knows your parent is going to get old or die at someday, but when it does happen, when your kid leaves home, like you have to take the time to also just be with that and be present with it. So, having someone to help me, or even just to create the time and the space in the week and in the day to take time to do that, I don't think I'd, yeah, be feel as sort of centered and new person-ish as I do now without that support.
Hmm. And how, when you say like you feel like a new person, like how so? What's different and new about you now versus before we did the work?
I'd say, well, a lot more confidence, a lot more, yeah, just having had the time and space to really figure out how I feel about things and how I want my days to be in this new phase. That's invaluable, and you can try to work that out with friends or in a relationship or whatever, but it's a very different setting than a coaching setting, where, um, yeah, I don't, I,
What do you see as that difference? I agree.
yes. Well, because you're not attached to the outcome, probably, like a friend or a family member or partner would want to see you evolve in a certain way or might have an expectation of, how they think you are because they've known you for a long time or what they wish for you. And that I think could encroach on what you need to discover about yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a piece of it for sure. Of this is more of a clear container to just figure out what's going on in you and bring that out versus being clouded by other people's judgments want from you and all that. Cool. And you mentioned confidence and feeling more confident. What changed or shifted there? How is that different now from before?
Um, I think part of it is also time. I think, run, I've had a little bit of time now to create this or paint on this blank canvas I was given and try different things and see which bits of that I liked and don't like. And um, yeah, when you're kind of put, I guess, especially as a woman, while you're raising children, whatever, you're so dedicated to other people's needs and lives and what needs to happen that when you have to make that shift to now being your own North Star and your own visionary and your own like deciding factor of what this day is going to look like. I think you also just have to try things for a while. And I think I did quite a bit of that with you, like where things would happen and I would do things and try them. And then we discuss, okay, so how did that work out for you? Like, did you like that one or not? Or, which one is the better one? And so it's super helpful to kind of evaluate, on a regular basis. Okay, yeah, no, I actually didn't like how that felt. Or, but have the non-judgmental open space to discuss it because, I'm sure I did some not so cool things during that time too, That's okay.
Yeah. It sounds like yeah, having that clear open space to like look back on things, and that's part of what I see of like value in this work as well. It's like you know, people can do quarterly reviews or even weekly reviews, what went well, what to fix for next week or whatever. And like that's great and awesome. And this is like just like drilling in even more so on some of those things to be like, well, what exactly didn't work about this? Or what did work that maybe is getting overlooked a little bit. So like really like slowing down and drilling in just helps to find some of the pieces that might not be working and little shifts to make or uh, things that are working that maybe got overlooked a bit more. So cool. And you also mentioned time. I know because that was a big thing that I remember when we started. It was like, you were just very busy with your business and like working a lot. And how has that shifted? Have you seen any shifts around time and having more space and openness uh, as opposed to like the kind of like working continuously?
Yeah, I still have the fuck off time on my calendar every Monday.
What is that for the audience listening at home that has no idea what you just said?
Well, every Monday afternoon at the beginning of the week, I have some fuck off time where I'm not working. So, um, yeah, no, I think more than like I don't think I ever went into our collaboration with an expectation that I want to work less time or have more time back. I do enjoy my work, but I needed to shift the mindset around it. And I think I needed to become honest about how much time dedicated in a day is actually joyful, does nurture that joy in my work, and where does that tip? And that could be different on a Tuesday to a Friday, right? And I don't think it's consistent for me in that sense, but it's knowing every single day that, okay, right now that still gives me energy, or no, now we're past that and I'm going to torture myself because it just doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily about like working less. It was about like working more from a place of joy and not as few hours as possible when it's from a place of more stress and overwhelm.
Yes. Yeah.
And how has that shifted? How has like, the joy you feel in your work, where is that at now versus like a year ago?
Um, yeah, it's with so many things shifting in my life and a lot of people also leaving from the business. I think I've learned that I can like I've seen more what truly my own skill set is, and that's been very confidence building and affirming, and brings more of that joy if because now I think I was sort of hiding behind other people a little bit. So now that I can see that, oh no, that is actually something I create in the business, so that it's sort of a cycle that feeds itself in a way, where if I can see the impact of my work, then I also enjoy it more. And then that encourages me to be more intentional about it, more focused, bring the right energy to it. And everything gets better as a
Yeah.
result.
Awesome. And what's like, yeah, what difference have you noticed of like how much of your day is like feeling joyful and confident and energizing now versus before we did this work?
Um, a lot more. I mean, to be honest, I don't think it was really a metric I had before so much.
Mhm.
Because it was just survival, getting through, you know, making sure everything worked. Um, I think now my days are like 60 to 80% joyful in the work, I'd say.
Awesome. Anything else stand out as big shifts that you made or discoveries that you had through this journey?
Mhm. Um, I don't know, I have your voice quite often in my head.
Uh,
Brian would say that now. uh,
like what? Can you give me an example?
like, you know, you were so good at sort of catching out my little side comments and just not letting me get away with things that weren't real, or where you could tell there was more to it.
Yep.
So I play that game with myself quite a lot.
Like what? Can you give me an example?
Like what's really underneath that, or you know, Brian would say there's nothing wrong with that, with feeling that way, and you know, letting myself be with that for a second, and then you know, it moves, or you get a different insight on
Yeah.
what's going on. So just, I guess, just giving myself a little bit more space to process and be with what's happening.
Awesome. What about if you want to talk, if you don't want to talk about this, that's fine. But I know we did a little bit on like leadership as well, and how you saw yourself as a leader. Is there any like change or shifts around that that you want to speak to?
Leadership. Yeah, I think I began to learn, like I remember one particular session we kind of dove, is that a word? Dove deeply into leadership conversations, and you had me describe who I think is a good leader, and then you sort of walked me around to the fact, but I think you're doing that. so so doesn't that mean that you're a good leader? I'm like, oh, if leadership is like being a good leader is measured by my own standards, then I guess I am doing the best, you know, doing pretty good. So that was a cool session. Yeah, I remember that one. And it's taken a lot of pressure off for me to be able to define leadership in my own way, and not, you know, and the leadership industry feels very male dominated, and it feels kind of outdated a little bit, and it feels like you have to be like this particular typical male figure that leads whatever, you know, we've read all the books and all the things and heard all the messaging, and I just personally feel like I don't fit that. So it was very nice to kind of work with it on you to create my own leadership definition.
What what impact did that have? Did that impact your confidence, your ability to lead, how you showed up in with your team and leading?
Yeah, I guess mostly it was a relief, you know, a stress I put on myself that probably my team wouldn't even mention. You know, it was invisible, you know, just happened inside myself. But to not have that conflict, inner conflict and dialogue going on, obviously, is a huge relief.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Is there anything else that, or actually, no, let's, before we get to that, the shift that you've seen, or like yeah, the changes, how you're saying, like kind of totally different person from, you know, a little less than a year ago. Like, what does that make possible now? The changes that you've created from this work, what does that make possible for yourself going forward in your life, in your business that wasn't there before?
Yeah, so definitely like co-creatively or actively painting my new canvas. I feel like I've uncovered enough aspects like of who I am and what's important to me in the work with you to have begin to have a vision. You know, I always knew it was going to take some time. Like if that big a change or shift in your life happens, you don't wake up the next day and go, oh, this is who I'm going to be now. And this is what my next 10 years of life are going to be focused on. You know, it just takes some time. So I think the ability or having a new vision, having joy in my life, and in my work, because it's more aligned with who I want to become now and the impact I want to have. Um, yeah, and maybe ask me again if there's something else.
No, okay, that's great. And what was the other part? Oh yeah, anything else that you want to share?
Well, I always appreciate about you the improv aspect.
Mhm.
I did a tiny bit myself. I'm in no way an expert, but it was very life-changing when I first did it many years ago. And I just liked that you bring that to the table, basically.
In coaching sessions, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I think just it's like its own language. I was really deeply touched by doing improv, and it was so different. Um, because it's so much more about listening and being super present and attentive and picking up those little nuances in communication that yeah, it just made me very drawn to how you might work with me because you practice that skill all the time.
Yeah,
And while you and I didn't play improv games, it's like a skill you've honed for a long time that I think impacts and makes your coaching style really good.
thank you. Yeah, I think that's spot on too. Like that kind of gets into the nuances and weeds of coaching, but it absolutely changed the way that I was, or influenced the way that I was able to show up with clients and run like coaching sessions.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the many, many benefits of the problem. And we are at time. Did you have time for one more question? Or are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's go. Cool. I also just wanted to ask if there was any impact on your relationships from this
Yeah, we worked a lot on communication skills, which is obviously one of your skills and not one of mine. So I learned a lot in that area.
Cool. So what was the impact of these improved communication skills?
Well, like I literally need sentences that I can say. So you would give me sentences, which is awesome because then I'm good. Then I can say them and keep going, keep moving.
And what was the impact of that? How did that change relationships with people in your life?
I still have them. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That will do it. Thank you very much. And yeah. Oh, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on byfzk.com.
Okay, beautiful. Yes, for various branding services. And I'm at McCarthyMindsetCoaching.com. And thank you, FZK.
All right. Thanks, Brian.